What if I told you some people shouldn't have kids yet? Not because they're bad, not because they're incapable, but because they're still carrying wounds they've mistaken for wisdom. We talk about parenting as if it's biology, not legacy. But the truth is, children don't just inherit your eyes, your smile, your DNA. They inherit your unfinished pain, your unresolved trauma, your silent fears. And that's why this video might just be the hardest truth you'll ever hear, because it's not about having kids. It's about whether you're ready to raise yourself first. Before we dive deep, I need you to pause and do two things. Hit subscribe if you believe in emotional evolution more than social expectations. Comment your first thought, raw and unfiltered, because this topic isn't meant to be heard, it's meant to be felt. And trust me, stay to the very end, because by the last line, you'll see parenting and your own childhood in a way you never have before. And if you've ever watched our last video, Why Getting Married Too Early Destroys More Than Just Love, Psychology Will Shock You, then you already know this. Life's biggest decisions aren't about timing, they're about healing. So when you're done here, go watch that one. Links in the description. It completes this conversation in the most eye-opening way possible. Children don't come into the world as blank slates. They come as mirrors. And what they reflect back isn't their innocence. It's our unfinished business. That's why psychologist Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Most people don't parent consciously. They parent reactively. They repeat what was done to them, sometimes with gentler words, sometimes with new technology, but the same emotional blueprint. Your child doesn't just grow up under your roof. They grow inside your patterns. If you haven't healed your self-worth, they'll feel it in your criticism. If you haven't healed your abandonment wounds, they'll feel it in your overprotection. If you haven't faced your anger, they'll fear your silence. You can give them the best toys, the best school, the best opportunities, but if you don't give them emotional safety, you give them your anxiety wrapped as love. Let's talk about love, the most misused word in parenting. Many parents say, "I did everything for you." But what they really mean is, I gave you everything I didn't have without realizing I never healed why I needed it. It's not love when you live through your child. It's not love when they need their achievements to validate your worth. It's not love when your fears decide their choices. That's projection, not parenting. Children aren't born to fulfill your unlived dreams. They're here to live their own truth. But that's impossible if they grow up trapped inside yours. Let's get real for a moment. There's a reason so many adults spend years in therapy talking about their parents, because most of us were raised by people who never met their inner child. When you don't heal your inner wounds, you unconsciously transfer them. This is called intergenerational trauma, the emotional inheritance that no one talks about. You see it in families where anger passes like DNA, where silence becomes the family language, where we don't talk about feelings becomes tradition. Neuroscience confirms this too. Studies show that chronic stress, emotional neglect, and trauma literally rewire a child's brain, affecting their capacity for trust, empathy, and emotional regulation later in life. So when you choose to have a child without emotional awareness, you're not just creating life, you're creating patterns that will outlive you. Society has made having kids sound like a checklist: marriage, house, job, stability, but no one asks the real question. Are you emotionally stable enough to raise another human being? You don't need money to raise a child. You need maturity. You need self-awareness. You need the strength to face yourself because your child will reflect you back every single day. Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche said, "He who cannot command himself will find no joy in commanding others." And parenting is exactly that. You can't guide what you haven't conquered. If you haven't faced your own chaos, you'll call your child's emotions difficult. If you haven't processed your own grief, you'll shut down theirs. If you haven't found your voice, you'll silence theirs. Parenting doesn't demand perfection. It demands presence. But presence can't exist without peace, and peace only comes after healing. We glorify parental sacrifice. I gave everything for my kids. But here's the truth no one says out loud. Sacrifice doesn't heal pain. It passes it on. A child raised by a parent who lost themselves will grow up learning that love means losing yourself too. To care for others, you must abandon your own needs. To deserve love, you must earn it. That's not nurturing. That's emotional inheritance. The best thing you can ever give your child isn't your sacrifice, it's your self-awareness. Because a healed parent raises a child who doesn't have to recover from their childhood. So, what does it mean to heal yourself before having kids? It doesn't mean perfection. It means recognition. It means breaking the cycle instead of repeating it. It's learning to sit with your own sadness before you try to fix someone else's. It's learning emotional regulation so your child doesn't grow up fearing your reactions. It's learning to love without control so they can love without fear. Healing isn't about being unbroken. It's about being aware of where you cracked, so you never hand your child the pieces you never picked up. And sometimes healing means waiting. It means delaying parenthood, not because you're selfish, but because you're responsible. Because you understand that love without awareness is chaos disguised as care. Philosophers like Soren Kierkegaard believed that life can only be understood backward, but it must be lived forward. That's what parenting really is. It's the ultimate mirror. The moment you think you're teaching them, you realize they're teaching you. But you can only learn from that reflection if you're willing to see yourself clearly. Most people never do. They parent out of fear, obligation, or pressure, not realizing that bringing a child into unhealed chaos is like planting a seed in poisoned soil. Children don't need perfect parents. They need conscious ones. Ones who know their triggers, their shadows, their silence, and choose to face them instead of passing them down. The truth is, healing yourself is parenting. Every time you choose awareness over reaction, compassion over control, understanding over ego, you're breaking centuries of emotional inheritance. That's legacy. That's real parenting. Even before your child is born, you teach by energy long before you teach by words. And the most powerful thing your child will ever inherit is your peace. So no, you shouldn't have kids until you healed yourself. Not because you're unworthy, but because you're becoming. Because the world doesn't need more parents. It needs more healed humans who can raise emotionally safe souls. Healing isn't selfish, it's sacred preparation. And when you finally choose to heal, you won't just raise a child, you'll raise a generation that won't have to recover from you. If this video made you stop and think, don't just scroll. Like, share, comment, because when you engage, it tells the algorithm that truth still matters, and it helps this message reach someone who might be repeating the same unconscious cycle right now. And if you want to go deeper into this truth, watch our previous video, Why Getting Married Too Early Destroys More Than Just Love. Psychology will shock you. It'll open your eyes to the roots of why people rush life's biggest decisions and how it all connects back to the same emotional wounds. The link's in the description. Watch it right after this one. And don't forget, healing yourself isn't delaying life, it's preparing for it. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Until then, take care.